Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industry. Everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews, and I have had such a great March. This has been wonderful, and so much energy has been in the industry and kind of getting back out there to events, and the events being like filled with people, which is great. But I do have a little cold, so forgive me. My voice is a little off this week. But I just have an amazing guest for you today. His name is David, and he is going to fill us in about who he is and what he does. Welcome, David.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Like you said, my name's David Brewer. I'm with the Atlantic Regional Manager for SEPCO, and I've been now with them for 12 years. I started this business about 28 years ago. Didn't know a thing about mechanical seals or packing or any of that stuff. So it's been a great learning experience over the last 28 years.
Well, okay. So I'm really curious. What got you into it, though? Did you have family or a background? Like, well, how did you find the mechanical seals industry?
Well, both actually. It's funny you say that. Both background and I had family already in the business. So I spent 4 years in the Navy, and while I was in the Navy, I worked on a lot of pumps. I worked on a lot of process equipment. So when I got out and went back to college, my uncle, who was already in the industry, was encouraging me to get into it, and so it was just kind of a natural fit.
You know, it really is. And I've been talking to a lot of people because, for the podcast, but also like at events and things. The Navy has such a great, I guess, pool of people that we don't really think about that have careers in our industry right now, right? So they came out of the military or the Navy, and they've been working on equipment, and then hey, why not the pump industry, right? So we were talking a lot about that as a niche industry because they've got the hands-on, they've got the leadership and the critical importance of taking care of a plant and making sure that it runs efficiently, right? Because I was just talking to someone, the boat has to work or you're
That's
stranded,
right.
right?
Absolutely. No, at the end of the day, when you're on a ship, you're responsible for so much more than just that equipment that you're looking after. Because if things go wrong, you have to kind of be a jack of all trades. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, most of the guys coming out of the military have extraordinary, leadership qualities and organizational qualities. And so, one, if they're either in the plant, in the manufacturing plant themselves, or two, if they're in the industry that I'm in, which is on the manufacturing side of things, that is providing resources to these plants. They have those great organizational skills and leadership qualities.
Yeah, and I just on, where you work, so SEPCO, we're both in Alabama, so I say
Yeah.
roll tide. I know that's not for everyone, but um, we're in Alabama, and so I came and toured the facility. I've actually gotten to do like a video session with everybody there, which was really fun to get to know the people behind the scenes and see how packing was made, which is a phenomenal process. It's just so cool to see. So you said you've been there for quite some time now, but I guess can you explain a little bit about seals for our industry? What is a mechanical seal? What is pump packing? Just for people who maybe that's not their everyday life.
Sure. No, that's great. Well, when you came to our plant, the first thing you probably notice is all those braiding machines that are braiding packing. You would think you were in a textile plant, where they're making blue jeans or something like that. It's crazy. But we make both mechanical seals and packing. Um, Funny enough, they both go in the exact same equipment, but we use them at different times. So if you have something like that you're manufacturing or mixing in a plant that is toxic or requires EPA regulations, or is extremely corrosive or dangerous to the atmosphere, we would typically want to put a mechanical seal on that. the other times that we typically want to put a mechanical seal on a piece of equipment is if you're trying to conserve water. For instance, if you can't flush the packing and keep it cool, you sometimes you have a tendency to want to go towards a mechanical seal to help conserve water. But both are very similar in that they act as a seal from either a pump side or vessel side to atmosphere. That it keeps the fluid that you're moving uh, out from the environment, from getting on the floor or from leaking out into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
that word containment. They were
yep.
talking about that at the Fluid Sealing Association. That
Hmm.
really explained it to me, right? Like we need to know what fluids are out there and
Right.
contain the ones that we need to contain. And then, I think all of it, all the sealing, is doing that, but some at different levels, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, when we use a mechanical seal, the leakage rates are measured in parts per millionth. So if you were to have a mechanical seal and, every mechanical seal leaks, it's just deemed on, what is acceptable. And so when you look at a mechanical seal and see the pump shaft running inside of it, that seal is actually leaking a little bit. It's just deemed as invisible leakage. There's always a pressure drop going across the faces, and that can be either a clean cool barrier fluid, or it could be the product itself that you're pumping. Um, and in contrast, a mechanical packing leaks quite regularly. I mean, when you look at it, you just mentioned the Fluid Sealing Association. They deem that a pump packing can leak 10 to 12 drops per minute per inch of shaft size. So it's going to leak. You see it. You can physically see packing leaking.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, and I think it's really like, how do we know that it's working, right? And is this the right uh, sealing device for the application? So there's a lot of reliability work, efficiency work, and all of that goes into play. How do you help with the customers out there that you have
Oh,
kind of
that's a great
determine that?
question. Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, when either a customer calls us at SEPCO or myself visit a plant, we tend to ask a lot of questions. We want to know, what the temperature is. Is that fluid that they're pumping, is it toxic to the environment? Is it toxic to humans? We have about 100 questions that we ask before we make a recommendation to go in either the packing realm or the mechanical seal realm. So typically we have application data sheets that we specifically target the customer with.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so you've got to go deep with the customer. Basically, you've
Oh
got to
yeah.
understand their business and okay, so then I can see how your process works. I always think it's interesting. Coming from the pump industry, I'm like, it takes a pump to run a pump. Like to build a pump to it's really interesting. How where's the chicken and where's the egg kind of thing. But once you get in there and you see a process, sometimes it's improving a process or straight out the gate, there's something new, all right, a new piece of equipment and what
Right.
goes into that. And I guess also you have like relationships directly with, let's say, pump manufacturers and then also manufacturing or process plants themselves.
Yeah, typically, for me, and there's 5 of me at SEPCO, so that are uh, regional managers that are going around with either distributors or directly and talking to the end users or, like you just said, the OEMs. And when we go in a plant, typically we get to know these people, we get to know the process, and most of the time there's what we call the 80-20 rule. It's kind of funny. 80% of the problems are only 20% of the equipment that's in a plant. And so we typically tend to work on what we call problem children, or repeat offenders,
Mhm.
that seem to have problems. We identify those, and then once we identify them, we actually start asking all the questions that we were just talking about, about the application, so that we can make the correct recommendation. Because, well, if you saw it, you saw our packing facility. We make over 700 styles of different packing. So how to choose that, which is the right one for the application, or the vast majority of mechanical seals, all the mechanical seals that we have to offer, how to apply those to one application or another. It's kind of, it's very fun, but it's challenging at the same time.
Yeah, you have something new every day probably that can come
Yeah.
up, different facilities and stuff, because it's in every plant and that I can even think of. But it is kind of a neat process to see. And I always think valve packing because of some of the things that happen at the Fluid Sealing Association. I see the valve packing. I don't think that I have as much experience in pump packing and like where that lives.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, I can think about it as far as what needs to be sealed, but do you have a hard time like picking which one to present to the client?
So sometimes it's interesting because, a lot of times, in general, it's not always the case, but in general, packing is less expensive to buy, say, than a mechanical seal. So we always have to be careful with a customer and kind of know who we're talking to, because there's some, they're within their, they have budgets as well as everybody else. And so we have to make sure that when we do present them with a solution, that one, they can afford it, and two, it's the right solution for that application. But I typically, let's take a paper mill, for example. There are a lot of applications where we can actually get away with putting packing in there, mechanical packing instead of a mechanical seal, save the customer a lot of money. Like on stock pumps, for instance, you have these, what they call thick stock pumps, are moving a lot of heavy stock from point A to point B. And typically you want to use packing in those applications. And it's great for it. We have, a lot of different styles that actually can provide a great solution for them in that situation.
Yeah, and it is based on how it's created, like the fibers that are used, the coating things that go into it. It's really kind of amazing to see how those. So if anybody is in Alabama or wants to take a visit, I know that y'all give them a tour.
Oh,
So
anytime. We love to have visitors.
yeah, and so I'm if somebody was interested in learning more about mechanical seals or packing, where would you point them?
So we have a great resource on our website. It's www.sepco.com. We have a section there called Seal Connect, SEAL Connect, and it is a great resource. It will show you. Has pictures, videos, step-by-step instructions on how to either install packing or a mechanical seal. It's a great resource. I even use it. I've been doing this for 28 years, and I still use it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that people get used to doing that. We used to talk about going back to the basics all the time. It's not a bad thing to go to the basics and make sure like it's still in your mind. You've done so many other things, but let's just make sure we're doing the right, the first thing right. And so I think it's important to go back to the basics on a regular basis.
Oh gosh, Charlie, you're right. I mean, it's funny, all of our mechanical seals that we sell, when they come to the customer, they have instructions inside of them, and they're step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to the last step. And since I put in thousands of mechanical seals in my career, and I still read the instructions every single time, step by step, just to make sure I got it right. It's kind of our insurance policy. I mean,
Mhm.
if you look, to the end user, I tell them if they use those steps, that's their insurance policy.
Yeah, and similarly, I was on a podcast today, talking about the processes that go into like hospital surgeries and the airlines, and like this is what keeps it safe and reliable because this is the proven steps and the way that it works. This is the process, and so don't make it human error. If we don't have to, just
Right.
eliminate that as much as possible. And so I like good checklists, even though I'm
Yeah.
I sometimes. I'm a rule breaker or a risk taker, I'd like to say.
Yeah.
I still think the process is so important. And I'm learning that more and more each day, that processes save energy and time and allows us to do, better work, more work in different areas. So, yeah, I love that. I love that y'all have the instructions right there for them.
Yeah. It just makes it so much easier. And, again, they could also go on our website and see there's great packing instructions just right there, videos of of installs and stuff like that that they can use. And like you said, just get back to the basics.
And it's also really cool to watch. I just have to say that, like, it's one of the, Instagram worthy video for sure to see some of these things moving. We were talking about that this week too. Just anything that rotates and spins or has fluid moving, like we're like, that's fun to watch. A
Oh
little
yeah.
insight into me, and you mentioned it too, or alluded to, like, I love a plant tour, as you do.
Yes.
Well,
Yep.
let me like give you the kind of last word here for our audience. Is there anything else kind of on your mind that you want to make sure that they know?
Just I like to be careful. Like you said it earlier, I like to be careful. I like to get people involved that know what they're talking about. It doesn't have to be me but have somebody involved in your process that you can trust, that can help you make the right decisions, whether it is to go with packing or mechanical seal. And then use your local guy that can help you with the install and make sure that it goes right. I just say you can never be too careful in these situations.
Yeah, and I just have to mention, because Chris is so great about this, but that family business culture, having everybody kind of part of a team there at SEPCO. I know that's important, and I know you've had some great members of the team that have been there for many years, which is a testament to that. Just yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there as
Oh,
a
you would be
little
hard pressed to
nugget.
find a better place to work. I mean, it's a great, like you just said, family atmosphere. I appreciate you saying that because that's what it feels like. I'm the young pup at SEPCO, even though I've been doing this for 28 years, and I'm still like the youngest guy in the group in terms of my time at SEPCO. So we've had guys there 48, yeah, 48 years.
Mhm.
So they've they've all been around the block and have a lot of experience.
That's right, and that expertise comes in handy, especially if they're bringing along the young bucks like yourself. So
I'm not so
now
young, but
we want to
you're
pass
right.
them down, pass it down, that knowledge, and that's what we want to make sure that we do. So with that, I'm going to do a little rapid fire questions and pick your brain a little bit. The first one's
Okay.
fun. What is your favorite book?
Grapes of Wrath.
Okay, all right, all right. Now, favorite song or band?
Led Zeppelin.
Okay. I like it. I've had a lot of rock stars this week. It's awesome. And then what is the best advice that you've ever received?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I would say the best advice is never to, this is going to sound a little too profound probably, but do not ever confuse activity with results.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Stepping on some toes out there.
that's right.
Uh, okay. And now this is your chance. This is a chance for you to give your advice to a young professional coming into the business.
To stay with it, to be tenacious, don't give up, and stay with it. There's a lot of persistence that it takes to be in this and survive in this business, and you have to have some tenacity. Um, Another great piece of advice a guy from SEPCO gave me years ago is get up and go somewhere. And it really hit home with me when I first started with SEPCO, and it made a lot of sense. And a lot of people will, if they can't get appointments, if they can't get in front of people, they tend to give up. But don't give up, and get up and go somewhere.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, David, it's been a pleasure to talk with you. And I know where you are, but if people want to get in touch with you personally, how would you like them to do that?
So the best thing is via email. It's David B at SEPCO, SEPCO.com.
Okay,
That's the
wonderful.
best way.
Well, awesome. Well, I hope that everyone will share this episode. And if you haven't, like and subscribe so we show up in your feeds. I have been, going 90 miles an hour, like I think I've said on these things, but I've enjoyed it. I love going somewhere, getting out and going and seeing people.
Yep.
It really does energize us and helps us kind of see what the industry needs. We have a lot coming down the pipe as far as magazines coming out. So if you haven't read our digital magazine, please do that, empoweringpumps.com. And I'll put all that in the show notes. But we've launched Empowering Women in Industry magazine, digital magazine. We've launched memberships with that. And then we're looking forward to Epic, which is not too far from us. We're going to be Epic in Atlanta area, Georgia, coming up in November. I know that's a long time from now, but plan now to be there. We'd love to have you. You too, David. I know I was talking to the greater podcast world there, but we would love to have y'all as members there too. And then I guess I'll let that be all for now. So until next time, be empowering.